The Magic of Mindful Self-Awareness by Matt Tenney. The Path to Unconditional Happiness. Have you ever noticed that the shiny things in life, the new car, the big promotion, even the thrill of falling in love, rarely bring the lasting happiness we expect them to? In our constant pursuit of these external pleasures, we often find a satisfaction that is disappointingly brief. We overlook the quiet but profound power that comes from turning our attention inward instead. And it's right there, in that inward turn, that the true path to unconditional happiness begins. It starts with something called mindful self-awareness. At its very core, mindful self-awareness means letting go of the habit of constant comparison, comparing ourselves to the past, the future, to our own expectations, or to what we think other people are experiencing. Instead, it's an invitation to meet this present moment exactly as it is, without judging it or resisting it. The encouraging truth is that happiness isn't something dictated by our circumstances. It's a skill we can cultivate. In this guide, we'll explore practical strategies for developing that mindful self-awareness, tools to quiet an overthinking mind, enhance clarity and creativity, and even turn difficult emotions into sources of compassion and joy. So, if you're ready, let's begin. There's an ancient parable about a wise farmer and his neighbor. One day, the farmer's prized horses ran away. His neighbor rushed over and declared, "Oh, how terrible!" The farmer simply replied, "Who can say what is good or bad?" A few days later, the horses returned, bringing with them a herd of wild horses. The neighbor exclaimed, "How wonderful!" Again, the farmer calmly responded, "Who can say what is good or bad?" The next day, the farmer's son fell off one of the new horses and broke his leg. "How awful!" cried the neighbor. "Who can say?" repeated the farmer. Later that week, war broke out, and army officials came to draft all the able-bodied young men. The son, with his broken leg, was left behind. The neighbor proclaimed, "How fortunate!" The farmer's response, as always, remained the same. How does this story end? It doesn't. Because there's no such thing as an inherently good or bad experience. What happens to us only appears positive or negative because of the story we imagine will come next. When we become fixed in our thoughts, like the neighbor, we lock ourselves into rigid interpretations of reality. When we first realize how profoundly our thoughts shape our world, the natural temptation is to try and replace negative thoughts with positive ones. But here's why that's a mistake. Trying to force positive thoughts on top of negative ones is like putting a clean bandage on an infected wound. Sure, cultivating positive thinking can be helpful later, but first, we need to resolve and unwind the negative patterns underneath. The key is learning to observe our thoughts as if they were objects, rather than getting swept away by them. But you can't rush this process, or you'll just get caught in the current of negativity. The first step is to build a stable awareness by connecting with the body. This grounds us in the present moment, reduces anxiety, and creates a steady foundation for the deeper work to come. You can begin right now. Simply notice the weight of your body wherever you're sitting or standing. Feel the points of contact, your feet on the floor, your back against the chair. Now, bring your attention to your hands. Are they warm or cool? Tense or relaxed? Just notice any sensations without trying to change them. Spend a moment scanning from your feet up through your legs, your torso, your arms, and your head. This isn't about achieving relaxation, it's simply about building an awareness of your physical presence in this very moment. Remember this: the body can only exist in the present. It can't worry about tomorrow or replay yesterday. By anchoring our awareness in these physical sensations, we create the stability needed to eventually observe our thoughts without being pulled into their drama. There's another story about a king who traveled a great distance to meet an enlightened teacher and his students. The king was immediately struck by their radiant peace and joy. Fascinated, he asked the teacher how they had trained to achieve such happiness. The teacher's response was surprisingly simple: by walking, sitting, cleaning, and other ordinary activities. The king grew frustrated. "But everyone walks and sits and eats and cleans." The teacher just smiled and said, Yes, but when we walk, we know we're walking. When we sit, we know we're sitting. This is a crucial point to remember. The practice of becoming free from our thoughts doesn't mean learning some difficult new skill. It's about dropping the bad habit of identifying with our thinking, and that happens naturally the moment you become fully present with what your body is doing. Once you start tuning into your bodily awareness, you'll find that brief moments of being in your body, and free from comparative thought, happen naturally and spontaneously. Now, it's time to deepen this practice and make it more intentional. Does the idea of clearing your mind completely scare you a little? If so, you're not alone. Many people hesitate to let go of their thoughts, fearing they'll lose their ability to be thoughtful, creative, or productive. In reality, the opposite is true. When we clear the mind through mindful self-awareness, we create the space for genuine insight and creativity to emerge. Fresh perspectives can only arise when we're not stuck in the same repetitive thought patterns. But how do we actually clear the mind? Think of your thoughts like the swirling snow in a snow globe that's just been shaken. The swirling flakes represent your busy mind. Shaking the globe harder won't help the snow settle any faster. In fact, it's counterproductive. Instead, you simply set it down, and you let the snow gently settle on its own. You can try this for yourself. Sit comfortably and just notice your thoughts without trying to stop them. Like watching the snow in the globe, simply observe as thoughts arise and naturally fade away. When you catch yourself getting pulled into a thought story, gently return your awareness to your body's presence. Let the mental snow settle in its own time, trusting that clarity emerges naturally when we stop stirring things up. Picture the perfect vacation: pristine beaches, perfect weather, and complete relaxation. You've imagined every detail, booked the trip, and counted down the days. Then, reality hits. The flight is delayed, your hotel room faces a construction site, and you feel immense pressure to squeeze every last moment of joy from this expensive escape. You end up returning home even more exhausted than when you left. What if there was an easier way to take a vacation? One that promised pure relaxation without the stress, expense, or disappointment. One you could take every single day? The good news is, there's a vacation you can take every night before you go to sleep. And while a regular vacation can drain your energy and your bank balance, this one will fill you up in every sense. Here's how you do it. Once you're in bed, give yourself permission to simply be for 5 minutes. No phone, no mental to-do lists, no reviewing the day's events. Place your hands on your chest or stomach and just feel the gentle rise and fall of your breath. Notice the weight of your body against the mattress, the texture of your sheets, the temperature of the air. If thoughts arise about tomorrow's meetings or today's conversations, just acknowledge them like clouds passing through the sky, and then gently return your focus to the simple pleasure of being present in your body. This isn't about falling asleep more quickly, it's about experiencing the profound rest that comes from not needing to be anywhere else or anyone else. Let yourself sink into this moment of complete acceptance, where nothing needs to be fixed, achieved, or understood. When you practice this daily, something remarkable begins to happen. This 5-minute ritual becomes what habit experts call a meta-habit, a core practice that naturally transforms other areas of your life. The peace you cultivate in bed starts to spill over into your waking hours. The restful awareness you develop becomes a portable sanctuary you can access anywhere, anytime. Unlike external vacations that promise an escape from life, this inner vacation helps you fall in love with the life you're already living. It's the most accessible and transformative journey you'll ever take, and it can begin tonight. Let's be honest. When you think about happiness, do you think about the present moment or the future? Most of us have fallen into the habit of seeing happiness as a future condition. As children, we longed to be teenagers. As teenagers, we dreamed of being adults. When single, we imagine happiness will come when we're partnered. Working entry-level jobs, we fantasize about being the boss. But this habit isn't just restricted to big picture thinking. It's contagious, and it infects even the simplest moments. Washing the dishes? I'll be happy when I'm finished and watching the game. Answering emails? I'll be happy when I'm on my lunch break. Let's try a thought experiment. Imagine that only 5% of any person's life consists of moments of intense pleasure or intense pain. That leaves 95% for more mundane activities like washing dishes, answering emails, commuting, or brushing your teeth. What if, in your rush to skip over the mundane to get to the good parts, you're actually wasting 95% of your life? Here's an extraordinary paradigm shift. What if you could find happiness in the mundane instead? Start by making a list of your ordinary daily activities. Choose one to begin with, perhaps brushing your teeth. Tomorrow morning, transform this routine into a mindful practice. As you pick up your toothbrush, notice its weight and texture. Feel the bristles against your palm. When you apply toothpaste, observe its color and smell. As you begin brushing, tune into all the sensations. The feeling of the bristles against your teeth and gums, the taste of mint, the sound of the brushing. Notice the circular motions of your hand, the coolness of the water when you rinse. Instead of mentally rushing through this to get to the real part of your day, let this be the real part of your day. When your mind wanders to your schedule or your worries, gently return your attention to the simple pleasure of caring for your body. Feel the freshness in your mouth, the quiet satisfaction of this small act of self-care. This isn't about trying to make ordinary activities extraordinary, it's about recognizing that they already are. When we bring mindful self-awareness to the mundane, we discover that happiness isn't something we need to chase or achieve. It's already here, waiting for us in the most ordinary moments of our lives. There's a story about an actress whose life had always been pleasant and comfortable. She landed a challenging role playing a traumatized, unhappy woman. To prepare, she hired a hypnotist to convince her subconscious that she was genuinely unhappy and beset with problems. The hypnosis worked brilliantly, perhaps a little too well. Unfortunately, the hypnotist died before he could reverse the session. The actress remained stuck in her role of suffering, even though, with a simple snap of his fingers, the hypnotist could have alleviated all her pain. When you find yourself suffering, remember this: your situation is like that actress's. The moment you realize that the life of a human being is simply a part you're playing, you can begin to wake up from your own hypnosis. Your true self does not suffer and is always at peace. But let's be clear about something important. Pain is an inevitable and objective experience. When you touch something hot, nerve endings instantly send signals to your brain, creating the unavoidable experience of pain. This protective mechanism is hardwired into your nervous system. There's no escaping it. But what is within your control is what happens next. You can suffer, jumping up and down, crying, wailing, or you can simply notice the red mark on your hand and move on. Pain is objective and mandatory. Suffering is subjective and optional. To be free from suffering, you simply need to let go of the desire for something to be different from what is currently happening. This means changing your relationship with the desires that arise within you. A desire can control you, making you feel restless, anxious, or compulsive. But the correct relationship with desire is to see it as a neutral tool that can compel you to action on your own timeframe, not as an emergency demanding an immediate response. Imagine an itch on your back. Initially, it's just a sensation, not necessarily painful or unpleasant. But as soon as you identify with the desire to make it go away, that sensation becomes all-consuming. The thought, "I don't like this itch," means you've merged with the desire. Try this instead. There is an itch happening. Notice how this simple shift in language creates space between you and the sensation. You can practice observing desires as temporary visitors rather than urgent commands. When a desire arises, just pause and acknowledge it. There is wanting happening. This creates the freedom to choose your response rather than being controlled by every impulse. Through this practice, you discover that you are not your desires, you are the awareness that observes them. Think about watching a movie. On the screen, characters experience drama, conflict, and powerful emotions. But the screen itself isn't affected by anything that's projected onto it. Your consciousness works in the exact same way. Your thoughts, your emotions, and your reactions are like the movie playing on the surface, while your deeper awareness remains unchanged and peaceful underneath. Your true self, that awareness that is watching everything, doesn't suffer. It can't be hurt by criticism, diminished by failure, or puffed up by success. When you learn to be aware without getting caught up in the ego stories, you can live fully in the present moment and experience genuine happiness. Not a happiness that depends on things going your way, but a steady contentment that exists regardless of the circumstances. The ego is constantly narrating a story. You're not good enough. You should be further ahead. What will other people think? But these are just stories playing on the surface. Your true self simply observes these thoughts without being disturbed by them. This isn't a philosophical theory you need to accept or reject. It's something you can test for yourself through direct experience. You wouldn't debate whether coffee tastes bitter. You just take a sip and find out. Here's how you can explore this for yourself. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. Notice whatever thoughts or emotions are present right now. Don't try to change them. Just observe. Now, ask yourself this question. Who is aware of these thoughts? Notice that there's a part of you that's simply watching, aware of all the mental activity. This awareness itself is calm and unaffected by whatever thoughts pass through it. Just rest in this awareness for a few moments. Notice how different this feels from thinking about awareness. This is experiencing your true self directly. When you open your eyes, see if you can maintain this sense of being the witness as you go about your day. This aware presence is always here. You don't need to create it or achieve it, it's what you already are. Recognizing this is the direct path to lasting peace. The central takeaway from The Magic of Mindful Self-Awareness by Matt Tenney is that unconditional happiness arises from cultivating mindful self-awareness. It's the practice of letting go of comparative thinking and being fully present in each moment, without labeling our experiences as good or bad. Instead of identifying with our thoughts, emotions, and desires, we can learn to simply observe them as passing phenomena. In doing so, we connect with a deeper awareness, one that remains steady and peaceful, no matter what's happening in our lives. When we learn to rest in this awareness, we discover that lasting happiness isn't something we have to chase. It's something we can uncover within ourselves, right here and right now. That's all for this guide. We hope you found these ideas valuable. Thanks for listening.